Okay, so hello everyone and welcome to Voices Video Podcast. I am Ivana Načinović-Braje. I am Associate Professor at the Faculty of Economics and Business at the University of Zagreb, and I am also the co-leader of Cost Voices Working Group 2 on Leadership and Decision Making. It's a true pleasure to share this space with you and to explore the challenges and experiences of early career researchers from the perspective of Voices Working Group 2. In today's episode, we will be discussing the role of early career researchers in leadership and decision making. So when it comes to the governance of higher education institutions, early career researchers somehow always remain behind the scenes, although their number is increasing, and today they truly form a significant proportion of higher education institution personnel. We want to contribute to the discussion about making young researchers heard by raising the issue of their position in leadership and decision making within higher education institutions. We hope to share some experiences, reflect and learn together about this important topic. Today here with me, I have two young researchers, David Daunoraite she is a PhD student and junior researcher in the Institute of Biotechnology of Vilnius University in Lithuania. She works in the field of microbiology, molecular biology, and biotechnology. And also joining us here is Panos Papaionou. He is a PhD candidate at the University of Dortmund in Germany. Panos works in the field of higher education management, capacity building for higher education institutions, and also project management. Panos serves as an executive committee member at the European Higher Education Society, and he is also the communication manager of our Cost Voices Working Group 2. Thank you, David and Panos, for being here with us and contributing to this important topic that will be shared through the podcast. Just as a reminder, this podcast will be made public and shared across various Voices channels. So to start with the topic, I would like to ask both of you, to share how your personal or professional experience connects to the role of early career researchers in leadership and decision making. So my first question will be, do you actually have any role in decision making at your institutions? Maybe David, you can start first.
I am not a representative in any decision-making body, so officially, no, I'm not.
And Panos, how about you?
Yes, so for me, I have been involved in different kind of phases as part as the young research, let's say what in Germany they call Mittelbau. So I have been participating in the different meetings that are these kind of representatives are organizing. However, I am not representing my fellow let's say, PhD candidates on the different decision-making bodies. However, I'm participating on the meetings that are taking place for the representation of our rights in these different committees.
So just in the meetings. Okay, but in general, how would you actually describe the role of early career researchers in decision making at your institutions? Is early career voice heard at your institutions? David?
I would say in my institution, the Life Science Center, generally, yes, I think ECR voices are quite well represented, especially when it comes to PhD students, I would think, because they have this kind of community that's quite active, and the role, I guess, is to help out other PhD students to navigate their careers, to navigate just study process. For other ECRs, well, maybe people who already recently graduated, I think it's less so. I think they're more on their own and they're not as interested in and not as well represented.
Interesting. You said that they're even not interested. And Panos, how about you? What is the situation at your institution?
So I will try to generalize so as also our viewers to have the opportunity to understand more about the German system. So in the German universities, the chair, so the professor has its own chair, so professorship, where this is the person that is mainly in charge of making the decision. And the young researchers are mainly elected in the faculty level and the Senate level. However, as we can discuss in the future, this kind of broader understanding of who is an early career researchers sometimes hinders the participation of early career researchers in the decision-making bodies, especially in the stage of the PhD, where they are not there yet so keen on participating on the decision-making body. So I would say that there is an opportunity. However, most of the times it's not so easy to join in this kind of early career phases of your academic research path.
And how can we actually benefit from early career researchers' inclusion in decision making? Can you see where and when could they have a say? I don't know, Dovil, you can comment first.
Yeah, okay, so in my perspective, well, just looking at the my institution, at the employees, well, very huge portion of them are ECRs. There's a lot of PhD students, there's a lot of other postdocs and so on. And in my field of work, in my field of research, ECRs actually do a lot of what we call wet work, so working in laboratories. They do most of the experiments, they generate most of the data, they directly work with students. Whereas senior researchers, the group leaders, obviously they focus a lot on the direction of the research, on external factors and so on. So I think there's these two a little bit sometimes maybe diverging perspectives, and having this perspective of young researchers who are directly in laboratories, who see these problems firsthand, they, I think, could offer very unique perspective, and inclusion of them would be extremely beneficial for the functioning of the whole institution. And speaking about these, new perspectives, I think I maybe can even offer one example that I start seeing these past, I guess, few years, where young researchers are starting to broach new topics and new new perspectives. For example, they start to talk a lot more about, for instance, mental health of students, mental health of employees, which are topics that maybe have not been as much discussed by previous generations earlier. So I think inclusion of ECRs is very beneficial for the unique perspectives, first and foremost.
Interesting.
Yes,
How about
I
you?
would also agree with Dovil. So it's the inclusion of ECRs give to the universities or the institutions in general the opportunity to rethink their way of governing, and they also give them more new ideas. They bring them up to new collaboration, and along these researchers are determined to see a change and more try to bring a positive impact and make the universities closer to the society. So I think this kind of new perspective is really important when including and having the early career researchers that are also in between these phases of understanding what the market needs, but also want to strive in this academical field.
I definitely agree.
That's true. So, what aspects of this topic do you think are the most overlooked or least discussed within academic community when it comes to early career researchers' inclusion in decision making?
I think if I can start, I think what's overlooked is I don't think there is a people even register that that's the problem, that ECRs are not included. If you talk sometimes with some senior researchers and or administrative staff and ask them, do they think ECRs are not represented? They say, well, they're not interested. And I think what's most overlooked is the question, why are they not interested and why do they not want to participate?
Yes, and from my perspective, what is the most overlooked is actually the position of these CRs on the table. So I think there is this kind of gatekeeping of their own people about their own position, trying to avoid introducing new voices into the decision-making tables.
Mhm. Well, surely there can be something we can do. So what do you think are the main obstacles when it comes to inclusion of early career researchers in decision making? And maybe you can also comment from your personal perspective, have these challenges obstructed your personal or professional way as early career researcher? Hannes, do you want to start first?
Yes, I can start with this. So I mean, I will try to focus mainly on the results of our work group 2. And I would say that the main obstacles regarding the early career researchers, either if we call them as PhD candidates or postdocs, it is of course the combination of workload that has to do with research, teaching, and project work. So all of the different early career researchers that were interviewed in the German context mentioned this kind of the sometimes a really big teaching load, of course, with supervision of exams and revision of papers. Then the research, which has to do not only with your own research work, so which can be, for example, your PhD itself or later on your postdoc project, but then trying to do other research projects related to the interest of your supervisor. And at last, of course, is this project work, which you need to apply all the time for funding in order to make sure that your position is also financed.
Yes, I would definitely agree. And this would add maybe that young researchers are at the start of their careers yes, they have a lot of workload, and therefore they're very focused on their own research, on their own work, and their own goals and their own individual achievements. Therefore, they might not want to dedicate more time for other activities if they do not see, especially if they do not see a point in it, or they don't think that they might have impact at all. So,
And from your experience, what can we do? What strategies can be used in order to increase their inclusion in decision making?
Okay, I can start. So I think, well, if the problems are that ECRs are not interested or not really, maybe not really familiar with the system itself, so I think better communication of what ECRs can actually do, what can actually achieve. For instance, yes, we do have representatives, but in my experience, I do not always know what they actually do, on what they vote, what they suggest in these decision-making bodies, in these councils, and so on. So it would be very beneficial to have a better communication. And also, just in general, what would be very good would be more open discussions with ECRs by senior staff, by administration, and just building a community that is based on openness and honesty and transparency. That would be beneficial, and this way we could avoid maybe a notion that some young researchers might have that, well, all decisions are made by few selected people behind closed doors based on their own discussions. And if we foster this community, which is based on openness and honesty, and all the discussions are well communicated, and it's communicated on what's being discussed and what will be discussed, that would be very beneficial, and ECRs would maybe not feel that they have no power in decision making.
Yes, I would fully agree with Dovile. Maybe an extra point that has also arisen is also the language of communication, because I think that as our universities are becoming more and more international, it is important that you have this information about the participation of the decision-making bodies to both languages, even if the language of communication within the committee stays in the national language of each country. However, even besides the PhD and the postdocs that might be even more considered, needs to have the chance to know what is happening. If then that is a hindrance because of the language, that's a different thing. But in the national context that I looked upon, all the information was in German. So that strategy of trying to make the information inclusive and open to ECRs, this is at least a first tangible strategy that can take place.
Thank you, Panos, for sharing this really personal insight. I didn't mention at the beginning that Panos is originally from Greece, but does his PhD in Germany. So just to sum up, if you could offer one piece of advice to a person who is entering academia as early career researchers, what would it be with respect to the issues of inclusion in decision making and leadership?
Maybe having a good mentor is a very good advice, probably someone who can help you navigate through the system and just give you good advice and mentor you.
Yes, from my perspective, maybe a good advice is try and ask questions if you receive different emails about this kind of elections that might take place, and then try to connect with other peers in a national or international context where they can give you this kind of exposure, because in some other countries, more and more people can have access to these decision-making bodies. But yeah, to someone it's a bit different. To the university, it's a bit easier to state some advice.
We appreciate your advice very much. So this topic that we have been discussing surely has a long-term impact, not only on early career researchers, but also on the academic community. So I would like to ask you for your comment from your point of view. How does the lack of inclusion of early career researchers in decision making actually affects the whole academic community, and especially then early career researchers?
Yes, maybe then I can start. So at least for the German context is the precariousness of the academic work in this, especially on these early career levels, which means that as the young researchers don't have a voice within this kind of decision-making bodies, they are kind of thought as and as it has been proved from the research, they are thought of as an extra personnel where the universities are not investing further money. So they can think of them as we can find another one if you don't fit into what you have to do. So yes, the precariousness is even further because that many ECRs don't have a seat on the table.
Yes, well, if the well-being of ECRs is not addressed in the institution, young researchers might they get discouraged. They might think that they need to fight the system that is not designed for their success. So, it's more harder for them to develop their careers. So I think it's very disadvantageous for ECRs, but also for the whole community if, these people drop out of academia, they do not continue their careers there. And of course, the larger community, if ECRs are not at the table, they might miss out on, as we discussed before, on new perspectives, on new ideas, on leadership and the direction of the institution.
Thank you, Devil. Yes, I agree when you comment on the impact on the overall community and the institution. Panos, do you want to comment to share your views on how does the lack of inclusion impact institution and community level, and what can we do in order to improve the situation?
I think that the universities need to rethink the ways that they kind of structure their decision-making bodies. That's really important, and then set at least a seat on the table for the early career researchers. I think that's the most important thing, that it can happen either, at least for the German context, in a federal level or within the kind of within the federal or the land level. So it depends. I would say that's the most important thing, so that we make sure that the ACRs are having a seat on the table. I think that's really important.
Yes, definitely agree. So if the institution's rules and regulations do not allow for ECRs, they definitely need to be changed. So the ECRs at least have a chance to participate, even if if they do not want, that's another question that needs to be addressed. Maybe better mentorship, better encouragement, and willingness to listen. But first and foremost, yes, just allowing them to be included.
Well, let's look at the future. Let's hope that our working group will make some changes. And what would you want to see really in the future? What changes would you want to see when it comes to the role of early career researchers in leadership and decision making? What can we as a community do to achieve these goals and this role? Nobody knows what the future brings, but let's hope that we will make some change with our action.
Okay, so my view would be, just fostering an academic community, as I mentioned, that's based on mutual respect, that is based on openness, honesty, and if the traditional sticking to traditional hierarchies where ECR sometimes might be afraid for their careers, they might be afraid to disagree, is not not a good thing. So ECRs should also maybe if they do not want to participate, we need to address why, and ideally ECRs could become more confident, and they should care actually about their institution and about the well-being of the whole community. So this needs to be like sort of two-way street where ECRs are active, they're willing to show leadership, but the seniors are willing to accept that and they're willing to listen. So very good communication, and this synergy would be ideal for functioning of academic institutions.
Thank you, Daria.
And from my side, I think what the Voices is about, so make the voice of young researchers being heard and sound. That means that we should further network. We should try to make our the results and what we have studied more publicly known. That means either through the academic path, which means about more kind of papers publishing journals, or the more kind of policy way where we can create a tangible manual for our institutions within Europe. And I think this can also at least be a first small step for them and for us to see maybe a small change in the future.
Thank you. Well, since both of you are truly relevant speakers for this topic, I would like to ask you if there is anything else that you would want to share on this topic with our community.
Maybe I should say that for all the established researchers and professors or members of the rectorate in different universities, that the ECRs deserve a seat on the decision-making table. And of course, you can also listen to them, their ideas. And as we look towards more innovative, open international universities, these early career researchers are striving for this. And you should give them the chance to voice and to have their voice heard.
I can only agree with that.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, truly, thank you for your first-hand experience and insight into the world of early career researchers and their inclusion into leadership and decision-making. We have now reached the end of this episode. I have to comment that it's been truly enriching to hear your experiences and reflections. Thank you for sharing your time and knowledge with us, Panos and Nabil. So as a working group leader, I hope that this episode has brought to the light the topic of early career inclusion in leadership and decision making. In conclusion to the topic, with respect really to high expectations that are placed on early career researchers, as you have heard from Davil and Panos, from one side, it is clear that structural changes would improve the situation to some point. Yet, as we can see from some countries where early career researchers are already represented in leadership and decision making, it is just not sufficient. That is why discussions like ours on the topic can make a change. As you have heard from the wheel, it's also necessary to change the culture, because if we really want to reach inclusive universities, then we must see early career researchers as an important part of higher education institutions, and they should really be encouraged to speak up. Thank you, Nabil and Panos, once again for your contribution to the topic. On behalf of the whole community, we wish you all the best with your academic journey.
Thank
And
you.
for,
Thank you.
for all viewers, if these topics that we have discussed have caught your attention, we invite you to leave the comment and follow us on our social media channel and on our Cost Voices website. Do not forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel for more episodes like this one. Thank you once again, all of you, for joining us, and hope to see you in some next episode of Cost Voices podcast. Thank you.